So in today's video, we're going to be looking at 4 signs that might indicate that you're holding the golf club incorrectly in your lead hand. And then more importantly, we're going to show you how you can easily fix that during practice. So if you're a golfer out there who isn't placing your hands on the golf club correctly or not holding it as we would like, it's really going to impact your score. It's going to impact the direction that the ball goes, it's going to impact the curve, it's going to impact the strike, it's going to impact the distance. It's really going to hold you back from playing your best golf. So today we're going to look at the indications that we would see as a golf coach as to what tells us that a golfer is holding the golf club incorrectly. Now, just before we get started and get into that video, I'd love to hear your feedback on this video, on my channel in general, on videos that you'd like going forwards, or even just drop down to the comments box and ask me a question. I can't unfortunately promise that I will get back to everybody, but I do my best to try and get down to those comments box, respond to as many as I can. And I really like this channel to be a two-way communication. Certainly I'm going to continue to provide videos, but the more that you can interact with me and ask the questions that you would like to see on this channel, the more I can tailor the content to help you with your game. Right, straight into the video. What are the 4 things that we would tend to see in a golfer's game which would ring the alarm bells for us as a coach that golfer might not be holding the golf club correctly? Well, the first one we would tend to look for is a golfer who is consistently hitting the ball to the right of the target. And that could be a push shot, so the ball heading straight out to the right, or it could be just a golfer which has some curve out to the right. So if you're hitting the ball out to the right of the target, this could apply to you. Also, if a golfer explains that they're really struggling for distance, let's say they play with golfers who are maybe of similar handicap, a similar height, a similar strength level, and then aren't hitting the ball as far as them, that would also indicate that we're not holding the golf club correctly. If you're a golfer who feels like you struggle to use your wrists correctly in the golf swing, you really struggle to get any zip down at the bottom of your golf swing, and you don't feel that your wrists are hinging or setting, again, that could be an indicator that you're not holding the golf club correctly. And then the fourth one, the final one, is if you've watched your golf swing on video, and I'm sure many of you have with the technology we've got now in mobile phones, if you're someone who sees an excessive bend in that lead arm, maybe in the backswing or maybe even through impact, again, that would suggest to me as a golf coach that you're not holding the golf club correctly. So hitting the ball right of target, loss of distance, unable to use the wrists, and a lead arm which is breaking down too much, I would say if you are ticking all those boxes, you're probably not positioning the golf club correctly in your hand. So what is the fault that we tend to see? Well, we would generally tend to see the hand being too much underneath the golf club and the golf club being too high in the palm. Let's explain what we mean by that. So when I take my lead hand and I place it and I offer it to the golf club, notice how I've got that grip running pretty much through the palm of my hand. This would unfortunately be common, but this would be incorrect. We're going to rectify that in a moment. And then when we look from the face on, it's when the golfer applies the hand with it too much underneath the golf club. So if I hold it that way, and I'm going to make this fairly extreme, what I've suddenly done is create a situation where I'm really unable to use my lead wrist at all in that golf swing. So I'm going to feel like that's almost locked in place. If I can't use my wrist in the backswing, which is something that really generates power for me, I'm probably going to find that I try to do that through this lead arm, and so I get a very, very bent lead arm in the backswing, and then very often it's hard to then stabilize that on the way through, and it tends to bend very much on the way through. With my hand positioned underneath the golf club like this, I also find it incredibly difficult to close the club face. That's pretty much the greatest range of motion that I've got. If you ask me to open the club face, I could do that very easily. And so you start to see how that hold will certainly encourage my ball to go to the right because I can't close the face. I can't use my wrists, and so I start to get my lead arm breaking down. So we're going to fix that in this video, and it's just really about how we position the golf club in your hand. You'll notice that when I do put my lead hand to the golf club, I'm positioning it very much through the fingers. I would like the golf club to run from the middle of my index finger to the base of my little finger. It's really, really important. What I'm then going to do is wrap my fingers around, and then the pad of my hand should feel like it sits very much on top of the handle. Now when I do that, 2 things I'm looking for. 1, I should feel very much that that's being held in the fingers. And number 2, the little test would be if I hold my forearm, I can get the golf club pretty much up to horizontal with my lead wrist alone. Notice that's not coming from my arm or my shoulder, that's just coming from my lead wrist. So by holding the golf club correctly through the fingers, I give myself a much greater chance of using the wrist correctly because I've got that range of motion in there. That's going to mean that I can keep that lead arm a little bit more structured. So holding it in the fingers is really important. We're going to give you a little tip in a moment which is going to help you during practice. Now when I hold my golf club and I hold it up in front of me this way, I'd really like to see two main checkpoints here. Number one, my thumb is going to be sitting slightly to the trail side of the grip. As I look down, that's my right hand side. I can see that there. And I've also got visible 2 knuckles on my lead hand, possibly even 2.5, maybe even that 3rd knuckle. And I really want to be able to do that without kind of obviously moving my head or moving my hand too much. Now, if you've struggled with any of those shots that we've mentioned, I would certainly be checking the grip. That would be one of the first places I would look to try and rectify some of those problems. What I'd love you to do in practice is take a spare glove, an old glove. This is a glove that it's in my bag, and if I'm just going to practice, I might use this. And what you're then going to do is you're going to take a marker pen. I've got myself a Sharpie here. And what we're going to get you to do is, once you place your hand on correctly, and obviously that might take you a little time to get it positioned as we want, I'm going to get you to put the golf club out in front of you, then just put a little blue mark onto the 1st knuckle and a blue mark onto the 2nd knuckle, and I'm making sure that I can see those marks. So now every time I pick up the golf club, I can see those little blue marks. If I start to trend back to my hand going a little bit underneath the golf club, which many of you will, suddenly when I pick that up, I can no longer see those reference points. So I can use my golf glove and I can basically turn it into a training aid. I can create a situation where I've got some little key markers which are going to help me when I'm practicing and playing. So you can see that I've now got 2 little blue marks on that golf club. We spoke very much about getting the golf club running through the right part of the hand. So when I position my lead hand on, and again I would take a little bit of time to do that, I could open up my hand and I can start to put another blue line on this on this glove, to show now where I want that golf club to run through my hand. So what I've effectively done is given myself some little checkpoints. If I suddenly start to trend back to what would be seen as the common fault, you can see how that doesn't match those blue lines. So I really want to try and get those blue lines to match the golf club. And then once I'm looking down from here, I can see those 2 little marks on my knuckles. And effectively, I'm creating a situation here with this glove where I, in theory, should never now get my grip incorrect. A couple of little things you can do in checkpoints. Going to make sure it's in the blue line. You can see my 2 marks there. What I'd love you to try and do, and this is a really good thing for you to practice to ensure that the grip is good, when the lead arm is level with the ground, we should be able to get the grip pointing pretty much vertically down. So as we go back and stop, you can see how I've created that really nice, almost L shape between my lead arm and the golf club. As soon as that golf club gets a little high in my hand, it's incredibly difficult to do that. I can't use my wrist, I will then start to use my arm, and that really quite simple little checkpoint becomes almost impossible to achieve. So, some indications that your grip is poor. We've run through those. If you are falling into any of those categories, check the grip, get yourself a marker pen, create a new training aid, a training glove if you like. You can use this on the course, there's no rules against that. You can use it in practice, but it's going to build some really, really good habits. And what it's ultimately going to do is help you control the club face much better, which we'd all like to do as golfers. It's going to help you create some more speed. Again, we'd all like to do that. And it's probably going to mean you're going to be a little bit more consistent when you're practicing and when you're out on the golf course. And that one, pretty much down the middle. Nice strike, nice shape. And the reason I was able to do that is because I held the golf club correctly in my hands. So, Sharpie, old glove is everything you need to make sure that your hold on the golf club is neutral, is perfect. That's the best way to control the golf club and control your golf ball out on the golf course. Thanks for watching. Usual stuff is down below. There's a like button down there. If you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up. We've also mentioned the comments box, and there is a subscribe button over here. I'd love you to click that if you're not a subscriber to the channel. It is absolutely free, and I'd love you to be part of this community. I really believe that the videos on this channel can help you understand your golf swing more and play some better golf. Thanks for watching.